Over the past decade, a quiet transformation has been unfolding inside China's industrial economy. While much of the world focused on short-term crises, China invested relentlessly in two sectors it identified as decisive for the future: electric vehicles and artificial intelligence. Today, the results of that strategy are becoming impossible to ignore. What is emerging is not a temporary surge, but a structural shift in how industrial and technological power is built and exercised. China is now the world's largest producer and consumer of electric vehicles. What began as a state-supported experiment has evolved into a fully integrated industrial ecosystem. Chinese firms design batteries, refine critical minerals, manufacture components, assemble vehicles, and scale production at levels unmatched anywhere else. This vertical integration reduces costs, shortens development cycles, and insulates companies from global supply shocks. This is not an accident. It is the outcome of long-term planning, policy coordination, and an explicit decision to dominate next-generation industries. The electric vehicle push began in earnest in the early 2000s when Chinese policymakers concluded that competing directly with Western automakers in internal combustion engines would be costly and slow. Instead, China chose to leapfrog. EVs offered a rare opportunity, a new technology where incumbents had limited advantage and where scale, supply chains, and state support could matter more than brand legacy. Beijing subsidized research, offered incentives to consumers, and protected domestic manufacturers. Local governments competed to attract EV firms, offering land, financing, and infrastructure. At the same time, China invested heavily in battery technology. Today, Chinese companies control much of the global lithium-ion battery supply chain, from mining and refining to cell production. Firms like Kindel and BYD are not just competitors, they are system builders whose decisions shape global pricing and availability. BYD, once a battery maker, now rivals Tesla in global EV sales. But the real story is not a single company, it is density. China has dozens of EV manufacturers competing aggressively on price, technology, and design. This competition has driven rapid innovation and cost reductions. Chinese EVs are increasingly affordable, efficient, and technologically advanced, accelerating adoption both at home and abroad. The implications are global. Chinese EVs are flooding markets in Europe, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa. Western governments now accuse China of overcapacity and unfair subsidies. Tariffs are rising, but protectionism does not change the underlying reality. China can produce EVs faster, cheaper, and at scale, and it is using that advantage to lock in market share early. At the same time, China's progress in artificial intelligence is reshaping another strategic domain. AI, like electricity or oil before it, is a general-purpose technology. It affects everything: military planning, logistics, finance, healthcare, surveillance, and scientific research. Whoever leads in AI will shape the economic and security landscape of the 21st century. China entered the AI race later than the United States, but it compensated with scale and focus, massive data availability, state-backed research funding, and close coordination between government, academia, and industry accelerated development. National AI plans set clear benchmarks, while private firms moved quickly to commercialize research. Chinese tech companies embedded AI into everyday life, from payments and logistics to facial recognition and urban management, normalizing large-scale deployment. Western narratives often focus on semiconductor restrictions as a fatal blow to China's AI ambitions. Export controls have slowed access to advanced chips, but they have not stopped progress. China has responded by investing heavily in domestic chip manufacturing, algorithmic efficiency, and alternative computing approaches. The strategy is not to replicate the US model exactly, but to build resilient systems that function despite external constraints. In parallel, China has prioritized applied AI over theoretical dominance. While American firms chase frontier models, Chinese firms focus on deployment, manufacturing automation, autonomous driving, industrial robotics, and military integration. AI is embedded directly into China's EV push, powering driver assistance systems, fleet optimization, predictive maintenance, and smart charging networks connected to national energy grids. The EV and AI strategies reinforce each other. Electric vehicles generate data. Data feeds AI. AI improves vehicles, factories, logistics, and energy management. This feedback loop gives China an advantage that extends beyond any single technology. It creates an ecosystem where learning compounds over time, making late entry increasingly difficult for competitors. Geopolitically, this matters. For decades, technological leadership underpinned Western economic power. Now that dominance is contested, China's success challenges the assumption that innovation must follow liberal market models. It demonstrates that state-guided capitalism, when disciplined, competitive, and long-term, can rival, and in some cases outperform, market-driven systems. The response from the United States and its allies has been defensive. Trade barriers, investment restrictions, export controls, and security framing increasingly define policy. EVs and AI are no longer just industries. They are strategic assets. Every factory, every algorithm, every battery plant is now viewed through the lens of national power and long-term rivalry. Yet despite tensions, global decoupling remains incomplete. Western companies still rely on Chinese supply chains. Chinese firms still depend on global markets and foreign technologies. The competition is real, but so is interdependence. This creates a fragile equilibrium, one where cooperation and confrontation exist simultaneously, and miscalculation carries real risk. China's rise in EVs and AI does not guarantee future dominance. Demographic decline, rising debt, environmental pressures, and geopolitical pushback remain serious constraints. Innovation leadership is never permanent, but dismissing China's achievements as imitation or distortion misses the point. What China has demonstrated is capacity, the ability to identify strategic technologies, mobilize resources, scale production, and integrate systems faster than competitors. In the industries shaping the next century, that capacity may matter as much as ideology, culture, or political values. The race is no longer theoretical, it is already underway, visible on roads, in factories, and inside data centers. And while the outcome remains uncertain, one thing is clear: the future of electric vehicles and artificial intelligence will not be decided by one country alone, but China will be one of the central players shaping it.